Okay, we're going to look at sentence diagramming. We're working on the handout here, Introduction to Sentence Diagramming in Greek. And this is a handout that was created by Dr. Denny Burke. Anyone know Denny Burke? Denny Burke wrote his dissertation on the articular infinitive, the article with the infinitive. I tell students if you go on Amazon and buy a copy, you'll double his sales for the last month or two. I do think it's interesting that the second book he wrote was on sex. So maybe he learned something about sales and marketing and demand. But if you go on Amazon, you'll see his second book is something like The Meaning of Sex or something like that. So probably selling quite a bit more than the articular infinitive. But Dr. Burke studied at Dallas Theological Seminary, and Dallas Theological Seminary is sort of the center of Greek diagramming. There's a guy named Grasmick there, I believe he's retired now, who taught diagramming to lots of people. And I met him one time, actually, and at a conference, I was like, sometimes I teach your method of diagramming. And he had this real serious look about it. He goes, diagramming is a helpful grammatical visual aid. And I was like, that reminds me of something I read in this handout here based on your reading. It says, yes, diagramming is a helpful grammatical visual aid. The benefit of it is it basically puts in visual format the structure of a sentence. The benefit for you is you can't fake it. Okay, usually if it comes to translating, people kind of can start throwing words together, and then it's like, well, I got something, and it's kind of fake it. When it comes to diagramming, you have to be like, does that modify that? Or I have no idea where that goes. You have to kind of admit your ignorance. It forces you to admit your ignorance. And so what we're going to do, we're going to work through this sheet and kind of learn it and I'm basing this on, again, some work that Denny Burke, he came to my class once and gave this handout and taught diagramming very well because he learned it very well, and I'm going to use his method. And then we're going to then, because you're most familiar with 1 John, and 1 John is a little bit easier, we're going to go back and diagram a few verses in 1 John and kind of see how this works. I'm also going to post this video for you, if it's helpful. You have this handout already, but I can send you a digital copy. And I have about a 30-page handout that is another kind of guided resource on learning how to line diagram. There's different kinds of diagramming. Maybe we should start off by saying that. Right, there's line diagramming, which is what we're doing here, line or sentence diagramming. And there's certain benefits to this. This kind of diagramming is most helpful on the micro level, looking at sentence by sentence, close-up kind of things. One of the criticisms of it is it doesn't capture more of the whole discourse as well, the flow of thought in a larger piece. There's also, you may know from your reading in KMP, or you may remember there's arcing and bracketing. If you go on BibleArc.com, this is John Piper's website, Bethlehem Baptist, www.BibleArc.com. It teaches a more elaborate method of structural analysis that labels everything. But I think on there they advertise you have to watch 5 to 8 hours of videos before you're competent in this method. So it's kind of a bigger hurdle for people to get over. There's another kind of diagramming called phrase diagramming that's very easy and that you could do right now with just 30 seconds of instruction. And basically it's just as you write the verse out, and then the parts that are subordinate under other parts, you just put them underneath it so you can kind of see the flow. There are other ways to do that, but that's a very simple one to do. But we're going to look at line diagramming just to try to understand a little bit of this. So if you look on the sheet at the beginning, terminology, it says a baseline. So when you have a sentence, you start by having a baseline, and then there's a line that cuts right through the line there. I'll highlight it now in yellow, and separates the subject from the predicate, the subject from the thing the subject is doing. So if we had a sentence and we said the boy hit the ball, we'll do this in English first. So boy is here on the subject place. That's the subject place. Now, technically, the is an adjective. So we could do this. We could say the and put it below the line, but that is not really that helpful because, I mean, I don't see how that, so let's just put the on the line, as we would in Greek, put the article ha or so on. So we say the boy, and here's our verb, hit, and then when we have a direct object, we do a line just right there up above the baseline, right? This is our baseline. This separates the subject from the predicate, and then we have this little line just above, only above the baseline. This line cuts all the way through. That is the marker of the direct object. So we could say the boy hit the ball right there. The boy hit the ball. Okay, kind of simple, right? And then if you look below this, you can see that there's all kinds of things called terraces that we attach onto it, underneath it, that modify pieces of it. Okay, again, this is just a way of visually representing the sentence. And we'll see the benefit of that more in a moment. Right now, we're just trying to learn the method. So let's say that we say the strange boy hit the ball. Where would we put the strange? Well, strange is an adjective. If you look at letter B1, a left slant terrace is for an element with no verbal element. So an adjective, an adverb, prepositional phrases, things like that. So what do you mean left slant? What I mean by left slant is it's connected to the main line with a left slant. So the strange boy hit the ball. You could stack them up too. The strange little boy hit the ball, and you could put a prepositional phrase here if you want to, into, the vacant lot. The lot, and what kind of a lot? The vacant lot. Okay? So you can see these are connected with a left slanting line because they don't contain a verbal element. We could say he vigorously hit the ball, right? So if that's an adverb, that's nonverbal, so that again is left slant. So vigorously, right, hit the ball or something like that. All of those are left. Is that spelled right? V-I-G-O-R-O-U-S-L-Y. Vigorously. I don't know. I'm not. Maybe. Okay. So those are the left slant. Then number 2. You have a vertical connection for non-finite verbs like participles and infinitives. So we have the strange little boy hit the ball. I have to keep erasing things so that we have room to put stuff here because it gets too crowded. The strange little boy hit the ball. And let's say he hit it while he was chewing his gum, right? So he's chewing gum as he's hitting the baseball. And in Greek, that would be a participle, right? It would be a non-finite verb. So it'd be connected like an adverbial participle with a line straight up and down, right? Because it's a verbal element that's not on the baseline. So again, left slant terrace for nonverbal things, prepositional phrases, adjectives, adverbs, straight up and down for infinitives and participles. So chewing, well, right here, how we do. And when we actually do a Greek sentence, it'll make a little more sense maybe. Chewing gum. What kind of gum? His gum. Okay, so there we have, again, the adjectival his in a left slant terrace underneath. Okay, so, and then number 3 at the bottom of the page there, if it's, I think your handout looks just like mine. Yeah, number 3 on the bottom of the page is a right slant terrace, and that's where we have connecting little clauses with hina, hati, elan, a that have a finite verb in them. So we say he hit the ball as he tripped over home plate, right? As he tripped over home plate. So that would be, in Greek, that would be connected with a right slant terrace. Erase this, and so we reslant to the right, and we put as. We start another little phrase down here, move it over, as he tripped. This is a good reason when you do diagramming, you want big paper and you want a pencil because it's easy to make mistakes and run out. And you also sometimes you have to like dot around stuff. You're like, oh, I don't have room. So then you start it and then you kind of like dot around and then you put it down here. It gets kind of messy. By the way, if you end up liking line diagramming and you see the value of it, Bible Works comes with the entire New Testament diagrammed. already by a guy named Leedy, a New Testament professor at Moody. So one of the benefits of that is not that you would agree with him on everything he done, because there are decisions you make that you might disagree on, but it's nice if you're struggling, you're like, what does that do? Any place in BibleWorks, you right-click and boom, you pull it up, you'll be like, oh, that's what he thinks it does. Maybe, or maybe not. So it gives you something to look at. So as he tripped, and then we do a little prepositional phrase down here, over home plate. Okay, over home plate. There we go. Questions so far about this? Does anyone want to ask anything? Melissa?
If you have both way of the ball vigorously while chewing gum, does the while chewing gum go under vigorously, or do they go side by side? Does it go one side?
Yeah, I would put them side by side. You can stack stuff up, but usually you stack stuff up that's exactly the same kind of stuff. So for example, here you have strange, here you have little, but if we had he vigorously hit the ball, we would probably do it like this, vigorously. And if we had the chewing gum, we'd do it like this. We'd stick it down here, so it kind of starts getting really crowded. That's one reason I keep erasing these, just because it gets a little bit messy. But realistically, this is more like it really does get crowded, right? Okay. If you flip to the next page, you'll see that the next thing that we have is about stacking. And that's what we started to speak about already. So we can, let's start again with a fresh line. So we have the boy. The boy hit the ball. There we go. And then as you have different sort of similar modified elements, you just stack those up. So strange boy, little boy, like we had up above, or we could say he willingly and freely hit the ball. So willingly, freely, we can hang those similar elements down on each other. Okay, letter D is branching. If you have a compound element, you split the line. So we say the boy hit, let's say he hit the ball and the catcher. So what you do now is you split it like this. Oops, see, I need my marker for the direct object there. Split the line, and now I have a compound direct object. He hit the ball, and we do a little dot here, and the catcher. Okay, so you could have multiple elements. He hit the ball, and his dad, and his grandmother, and the catcher, right? We could just have all these different kind of, as long as it's all the same, doing the same function in the sentence, direct object. Or maybe this is T-ball, and dad's out there holding the bat too. So it's the dad who hit all these people too. So we could have a compound subject. We could say the dad and the boy hit the ball and the catcher, and so on and so on, like that. So again, that kind of branching like that allows us to do compound elements. Okay, letter E, we have a shelf. And a shelf is basically a way to, one of the main ways we use it is to connect a relative clause, a little who or what clause. So we could say the boy, let's simplify the sentence again, say the boy hit the ball and the catcher. And which boy? Well, the boy who just ate a candy bar or something like that. The boy who ate a candy bar. So there's our subject, the boy. And who ate a candy bar is a relative clause. So the way we would do that, as you see here in letter E, we would have a little shelf. Who ate a candy bar? And then we would dot the who back to the antecedent, to the boy. So that's the way you do a relative clause. Who did this, which did that, and so on like that. Okay, letter F on your sheet. When you have a whole unit that sort of functions together as a part of the sentence, you can put it on a little bitty, what's called a little standard, like a little flag post. And so, for example, if we have the sentence, to hit the ball was difficult. And so here's our baseline. There's this. Was is our verb. And difficult is not a direct object. It's really a predicate adjective. And so you'll notice when you have a predicate adjective or a predicate nominative, we mark that slightly differently with a left slant line there. So as opposed to straight up and down, slightly to the left for a predicate nominative or predicate adjective. And then we're left here like, well, what do I do with it to hit the ball? Because all that together is kind of like the subject right here. But how do I put all those words together there? Well, you communicate that they're functioning as a unit by making a little bitty flagpole, right? Or a little bitty fire pole. This is like a pole you go down to the firehouse, right? And we draw a line like that. And we'd say to hit. This little 2 lines here means it's an infinitive. To hit the ball, right? So you can see we have a separation from the direct object right there in the blue. And the 2 little lines right here tell us it's an infinitive. That's the marker of the infinitive. To hit the ball was difficult, right? Something was difficult. Greek was difficult. Blank was difficult. To hit the ball was difficult. So all that together functions to be like a subject. So we put it on what's called the standard. Okay, if you flip, we're going to look at this for about 5 more minutes, and then we're going to get in the Greek New Testament and try it out. If you flip to the next page, it starts at the top with the spacer line. All that is saying is when things get really crowded, you can dot around to show it's connected. Then in the function markers down beneath there, you can see it tells you when you have a line like this, and you have a line straight all the way through like that, that's the line that separates the subject from the predicate. Tells you when there's a line straight up and down like that, that is a line that marks the direct object following. It tells you right underneath there if you have a preposition, you connect it with a left slant like that, and then you have the object of the preposition here in the blue, and you have the preposition right here in the yellow. Down below that, you have example of how to do the predicate nominative with a slight left slant on the line. It calls it subjective complement, but we would normally call that a predicate nominative. Don't worry about the things underneath there. Flip to the next page, and you'll see the marker of the infinitive. We already did that with the 2 little lines. Number 5, the infinitive, we saw an example of that. What do you do if you don't have an element in the sentence? For example, let's say I am releasing the slave. If I have luo doulon, right? I am releasing a slave. Well, if we're doing this, we think, well, the subject should be right here, but the subject is ego, but there is no ego explicitly in the sentence. You could put it in parentheses like that. Some people do that. Or you could put an X instead, just showing that it's not explicitly present in the original sentence. Either one of those will work. All right, that's kind of a super fast overview of diagramming, and I don't expect you to have digested that all in that one moment, but keep that sheet out. And also notice you have a sheet called the Master Symbols Chart that allows you to see basically all possible kind of connecting ways to connect things. Okay? So what we're going to do, I'm very rigid about taking a break every 50 minutes. Most people seem to like that. It's been 50 minutes, right? Since we started 3 to 3:50, we're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll start back at 4 o'clock, and we'll do a little sample diagramming from 1 John. Okay? Thank you.